Hello, it's David at DSS UK, and spring has sprung, excitingly enough. I'm just waiting for Nige to turn up on his motorcycle. Oh yes, nothing says midlife crisis like a 50-something-year-old bloke on a new motorcycle. Oh, in fact, here he comes now. Burner plate's a nice touch. Oh, I thought you were going to give me a vroom vroom. Here he is, Hell's Angles member number 101. Nigel's got himself a Honda.
Little one.
Can't afford the fuel anymore.
No, certainly can't. Not on what you pay me.
Absolutely. And he's got to get changed, which is...
That's alright, you can watch that if you want.
Sexy time! Fucking traffic.
Yep.
Traffic in this town at the moment, Mr. Marsh.
It takes me an hour to drive from Coventry, 15 miles.
Yes, I was bemoaning this on Twitter because Leamington County Council, I presume it's one of these budget things, you get to the end of March and they want to spend all their budget on roads, at least that's always the story that's given.
Yeah.
And they've closed their major through route through town for weeks now. They've closed an alternative route for weeks, a back route.
Yep.
And they've stuck roadworks on the bypass as well. So wherever you try and get in this town at the moment, you are absolutely fecked. It's fecking moronic.
Yep.
And if those assholes could do their job properly, we'd all have a chance of doing ours. But there's nothing to do with our video, although our video is kind of to do with saving the planet.
Yeah.
In a way.
In a small drop in the ocean way.
Yes, because electricity prices are going through the roof. They were doing so anyway before that warmongering moron over in Russia started blowing up more of the planet. None of us really needed. So, I don't know about you, Martian, but I've had notification that I'm going to be paying from a couple of weeks from now 30.5 pence per kilowatt hour for electricity.
I've just been, I haven't looked at the pence per kilowatt hour. I've been given my new monthly payment, which has gone up by just under 150%. How's that right, if power is going up by approximately 54%?
Yeah, well, they're absolutely bumfucking you on the standing charge, which you can't do anything about. Even if you try and live in a more energy efficient manner, you are saddled with the standing charge, and the standing charge is just bollocks. It's madness. So yeah, I've cut back as much as I don't have gas. I got rid of gas. I did the right thing in 2014 and got rid of gas because that's they want everyone off gas. And then they come and bumfuck you on your electricity prices. And I've got solar, so the solar sort of helps a little bit. I get perhaps at today's prices, obviously my solar payments don't go up, even though I'm generating electricity. So the value of electricity has shot up, but I'm still getting paid the same to generate it as I was in 2014. So yeah, it's very frustrating. And there's only so much you can do to lead a more energy efficient life. I mean, you can make as many cutbacks as you want. I even got rid of the electric car. I mean, you know, I was prepared to, I know it's still cheaper to run an electric car on a mile per mile basis, but I was prepared to put up with the inconvenience, the range anxiety, and the fact that half the time I couldn't use the feckin' heater or aircon in the thing because of the amount of miles it would sap off my journey. But why should I put up with that if the cost of electricity is so fucking high? It was when the cost of electricity was much lower, it was like, okay, I'll make that trade-off. But now that it's rocketing up, I'm going to continue to go up. You just kind of think, well, you know what, the second-hand market's very buoyant at the moment, so I'm going to sack that off.
Yeah.
Anyway, this video has nothing to do about our traffic and travel woes or, well, it is to do with electricity prices. We're going to be doing a job today where it's quite a popular job. There's quite a few of these coming in, so it's worth speaking about, and it's the halogen to LED conversions, especially the MR16s, the old 12-volt halogens, which were popular in the mid-90s through to the mid-noughties. They were sort of hung on into the late noughties, into the teen years of this century. Although GU10 was marching forward and taking over, the advantage of GU10, of course, is that it's a better lamp holder. There's no transformer involved. And obviously, you know, when LEDs started taking over, or energy efficient lighting started taking over, it was all mainly in that format. And it looks like this traffic's starting to move again, so I suppose we better go to our job and make a start. We've got a job where we've got 17 downlights to convert. I reckon that's going to take us a couple of hours. It's not a terribly long job, so long as we can get to the AC side of the cabling.
Yeah.
But it's all down to the cost savings, and the point of the job is the sooner you do it, the sooner it starts earning its keep, and it will pay for itself in short order within a couple of years at these sort of energy prices. And then any energy saving advantage after that, well, it's just money in your pocket instead of money to your energy provider. You can't get a better return on investment by putting your money in a bank or a savings account or an ISA or anything else at the moment. This is the best way you can invest your money for payback. So, you know, we should be booked up to the hilt.
It is a smart investment.
It is a smart investment. Yeah. And we're seeing quite a lot of these coming through. We over the years we've done loads of them.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, as a by the by, but at this day and age, our calendar should be booked solid with people saying, you know what, this is a very good idea. Let's do this, because it is a very good idea, and you very much should be doing it. Let's go to the job and have a look at it. Here we are on site, and as the Germans say, "Wir stehen in große Gekunz." We're in a basement. That's going to become a bit of a man cave, which is rather exciting. You would, wouldn't you, Nigel, if you had a space like this?
I would. Certainly would.
Yeah. And what we have are these eyeball MR16 downlights, which are of a fashion dating to 30 odd years ago, perhaps. Not fire rated, so you can see the woodwork of the floor above, and that's another reason for driving this change. This plasterboard ceiling is a fire barrier between down here and upstairs, and it's supposed to resist fire for about 60 to 90 minutes, assuming that no one goes cutting any dirty great holes into the thing that the fire can get through to get to the woodwork above. These ain't going to last any time at all in a fire, but the new lights we're putting in have an intumescent seal, and that seal will expand and retain the fire rate in the ceiling, so the downlights themselves shouldn't fail in a fire before the plasterboard does. Oh my God, look at that. Well, there's another reason for us changing it, is because the electrical connections here are amateur. Here's another reason. You've just pulled out his transformer, you can see it's cracked, it's broken. There's 3 points of failure with these MR16 lights. The lamp themselves, which are rated for a crappy 1 to 2,000 hours. You've got the lamp holder, which is this spring-loaded abomination that the heat from the lamps can damage. And you have the transformer itself. So sometimes we get customers saying, well, I've changed the lamps, but it still doesn't work. And it's like, yeah, that's because either the lamp holder or the transformer has failed. In this case, we obviously have a rather extreme transformer failure, which is quite interesting because this is dated 25th of August 98. So that puts it in the range of where we sort of expected this installation to date from. As I say, this was all a rage, mid-90s into the mid-noughties, and it started dying off a little bit as GU10 took hold. But they were still selling this stuff right up until just a few years ago, until the mid-teens. And what you used to get is decent contractors like us would come along and put in GU10 fittings, but the cheap-ass builders doing your extension and doing the wiring themselves, they were just sticking in all halogen stuff because it was still the cheapest way to do it. And now those installations are all end of life, because these lamps, this is another reason for changing, these lamps, these MR16s, they've got banned by EU and UK legislation as of October last year, October 2021. No new examples to enter the supply chain, mate. Oh, I missed. So, if you've got these things, then you want to get shot of them. But the main driver, of course, quite besides anything else, One of the change, of course, is they look shit. But the main driver is energy efficiency. So let's do some arithmetic on how much cheaper these are going to be to run. Okay, the room Nigel and I are currently upgrading has 6 downlights. The 12-volt MR16 halogen lamps installed within tended to come in 20, 35 and 50 watt flavours, all 50mm diameter and pin compatible. However, most retailers only stocked the 50 watt version, and indeed that's what we're ripping out here today. To calculate some sums, I'm going to apply advanced arithmetic to how things would work in the unlikely event that this dated shit technology was still lurking in the ceiling of my own home. I'm getting bum-rimmed for 30.524 pence per kilowatt hour from 1st April, which in any other year I would presume to be a really shit fool's joke. But no, from next month that's my peak rate price, off-peak being 19.978 pence. But that only kicks in during the small hours when I'm tucked up in bed with my Thomas and Friends pyjamas, snoring away while clutching my teddy bear and with my winky hanging out the trouser wee-wee hole. But before I retire of an evening, we can all assume I'm doing my usual thing of sitting around in my underpants, firing off angry tweets to the Highways Department of Warwick County Council while swigging bottles of Blue Nun. And if so, that's happening with the lights on so that I can find my corkscrew in the various bowls of salted peanuts, Bombay mix and cheesy poofs. If I happen to have 6 of these damnable MR16 halogen lamps blazing away in my ceiling, what's it costing me on the UK energy price cap from April 2022? I don't know if I mentioned it, but my provider has me sucking them off at gunpoint for 30.524 pence per kilowatt hour. So if we divide that by 1,000, we get the price per watt, which would be 0.030524 pence. While a third of a penny doesn't sound like much, I know for a fact you'd get little bang for such a small buck out of the fragrant Chrissy who hangs around outside the gents of my local Hungry Horse pub next to the Quid-a-go vending machines, and incidentally she offers better odds on you getting a happy ending. But okay, a third of a penny it is. When manufacturers perform lighting calculations and give all that blurb on the box about the impressive lifespan of their wares, they tend to base that on an average of 2.4 to 3 hours per day in a domestic setting. And it's bollocks half the time, which is why the likes of Philips here put such a shitty bare minimum warranty on the things. Anyway, we'll go for the higher figure here, mainly so I have fewer buttons to punch on the calculator. Of course, winter usage will be a lot heavier than summer, which is why we're taking an average, and some rooms will see higher foot traffic than others. So if doing the calcs yourself, use the energy rate you're being buggered for and apply it to a realistic number of hours for any given room or location. Here, 6 fittings at 50 watts per fitting is 300 watts of lecky burning and lighting for this one room. 300 watts at 0.030524 pence per watt adds up to 9.16 pence per hour. Over 3 hours on an average day will have burned through 900 watts, which is almost a whole kilowatt hour. Lighting this room adds up to 27.48 pence per day. This being a residential abode, if we multiply this by 7 days a week, it's costing £1.92, which, to put into electrician terms, is 64% of the price of a pint of Carlsberg or Strongbow at my local Hungry Horse pub at the time of recording. Okay, so again, maybe you're thinking less than the cost of a pint of unholy fizzy pish per week isn't so bad? Well, alright, smart guy, let's see what happens when we scale that motherfucker up across a whole year. £1.92 a week for 52 weeks adds up to a ton that I, like some kind of fool, would be forking over to my energy supplier just to illuminate one room. Yeah, not so cocky now, are you? Are you? £99.84 is 28 days of back-to-back full English breakfast down at my local Hungry Horse pub, going by their breakfast menu prices, and assuming one survives that cholesterol onslaught, there'd still be enough left over for a corn on the cob side on one day, although that's a bit weird, and an extra grated cheese to bung onto your beans on another day. And even then, one could roll one's fat arse back out through the double doors with 4 pence of change.
Yeah, that's rattling around in the pocket of those comfortably elasticated waist trousers, which is enough to pay for another 131 watts of electricity should I want to have the lights on again for another 26 minutes. Of course, none of this accounts for losses or power factor variances in the transformers, and we're also ignoring basic maintenance. And with these halogen lamps only having an average life of generally 1,000 to 2,000 hours, a year's worth of use at 3 hours a day will see them requiring replacement sometime quite soon. 6 new lamps generally costing about 77 pence a piece before the EU and UK ban. So that's £4.62 to replace all 6. Although a quick snoop on the interwebs indicates since they went end of life, MR16 examples remaining in stock have about doubled in price. Considering these figures then, and changing the 50 watt halogen gobblers over to 5 watt LED with good quality flicker free dimmable lamps, the moment I switch the new lights on, the energy consumption and basic running costs are reduced by 90%, as they are using just a tenth of the power being wanked away previously. If we apply these same criteria to my example installation today, well, look at that. Consumption adding up to just £10 and a penny over a whole year. That's nearly 90 quid I'm not blindly handing over to my energy provider to light the same space in the same way over the same time. A 90 quid saving gets me, treating the wife, to a romantic meal for 2, down at the Hungry Horse pub, where over a medium glass of house red and 2 lagers, we share a garlic breaded mushroom starter. She has the Mexican spiced enchiladas, and I wolf down a steak and ale pie with chips. She pigs down a chocolate fudge cake for dessert while I guzzle another lager. We both smash an Irish coffee each, and we potter home feeling a bit bloated while burping and farting all the way, and with enough change to do it all again the next night. Although there might not be quite enough in the kitty for her to have a glass of wine on that second outing, so she'll have to make do with the tap water, but that's okay. I'll have got my leg over on the first night, so I don't give a shit if she's soberly staring daggers at me across the sticky top table, especially by the time I'm a couple of pints in. And anyway, even if she does stomp off in a huff, I can just call Chrissy over for some sexy fun time glamour and be the envy of all the barflies. The point is, it's still better than me handing that cash over to a friggin' energy provider who are trying to stuff 2 wet fingers past my piles and rudely inside my person. And that's just one room in the house. Your kitchen or living room can easily reach and breach the 3 hours a day totted up here. And maybe you've got more than 6 50 watt halogen downlights singeing your ceiling as I speak. If so, go find out what you're paying for power from April, and even if you have a stock of unused halogen lamps waiting to be deployed, or you figure you'll change things over as your existing light bulbs die off, well, don't. You're throwing good money after bad. The day you chuck your halogen light bulbs in the bin, whether they're dead, used or still in the box, is the day you do your wallet and the environment a massive favour. The moment you first switch on your replacement LED lights is the same moment you start saving money. Assuming you've bought the right thing, that is, and not a load of no-brand short-lived shite from off Amazon, Alibaba or fucking eBay. You can just swap your MR16 halogen lamp for an MR16 LED model, but it's a lottery as to how well that would work. You still have the halogen transformer hiding above the ceiling, only now it's trying to drive a load that it wasn't designed for and whose characteristics don't match its minimum rating, that being at least a 20 watt resistive load most commonly. Flickering, premature lamp failure, transformer failure, or those buggering spring-loaded connectors in the GX 5.3 lamp holder can all continue to cause headaches, which is why I recommend throwing out both the baby and bath water to be replaced with a modern GU10 downlight can. With electricity prices the way they are, it's little wonder we're being tasked to undertake these jobs week in, week out at present. But it's amazing how many people out there remain blissfully unaware of how much money they're losing just to light a room. The sooner you upgrade, the sooner the job pays for itself, especially so while energy prices are high and likely to rise further than the scandalous amount they already are. Had I mentioned my supplier is fisting me for 30.5 pence per kilowatt hour? What do you think to the arithmetic, Nige? Can't argue with the facts, can you? Can't argue with the mathematics.
Can't argue with maths.
Go on, you try. Try arguing with the maths, you prick. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I'll go a bit.
As I was saying, the reason for changing these is that they look horrible, they're dated, they're discoloured.
They're falling apart.
They're literally falling apart, they're cranky. The heat from the lamps damages the plasterboard, and because these are adjustable eyeball lamps, we've got quite a large cutout here. In fact, let me get the old tape measure. It's about 85 millimetres, which is quite a big hole to fill. Normally we cut a 73 to 76 millimetre hole for our downlights.
We're going to have to cut.
So we've had to get some fatter cans here, and these are fatter cans because they're adjustable.
We should get them in.
The adjustability being both for the size of the hole in the ceiling and for the fact that, because the ceilings are quite low, they might want the option to actually point them in a particular direction. So that'll be nice. I was talking about the failures of these things. The lamp holder, the spring-loaded lamp holder is often one to go. They just wear out. Either that, or one thing that a lot of people don't realise about these sort of lamps, and you have two different types of reflectors on these. You have the dichroic and the aluminium.
Yeah.
The dichroic throws the heat forward,
Backward!
with the light, and the aluminium throws it backward,
Forward!
back of the reflector. And you're supposed to select the right lamp for the fitting. Some fittings will have a label on them. These don't appear to. A label on them that says, warning, only use aluminium lamps. However, most supermarkets, DIY stores didn't sell aluminium lamps. They didn't even say what kind of reflector they were. They was just like, yes, here's an MR16 lamp, 20, 35 or 50 watts. And people just bought them and stuck them in. But most of the ones in the DIY stores and supermarkets used the dichroic reflector. They had the heat was being sent the wrong way, and that would damage the fittings or damage the surrounding material. So this plasterboard ceiling is probably brittle as fuck around there. We may have to sort of cut some bad bits out. Of course, to do a conversion to GU10, we're cutting out the 12-volt transformer, so we have to have access to the AC side of the wiring. The wiring going in and out, which we have here so far, but the ones we pulled down. Sometimes you get an installation where you don't have access, and you can only pull down as much of this flex as you can. That's not so bad if you've got a class 2 downlight fitting, because you can just chop that there, fit your class 2 fitting, no CPC required, because this is only a 2-core cable here, there's no earth in it. And, you know, you're away, but as I moaned about before, most downlights on the market, for some bizarre reason I can't fathom, are class 1, including these auroras, so you have to have the earth. Which is annoying when you have a lighting circuit that lacks a CPC, or where you can't get access to the supply cabling and you've only got access to what's coming to the transformer. Also annoying and very rare. I mean, this is quite handy here in that we have one transformer per light, so it's quite a simple job for us to chop that, make good, terminate into the new can so that no exposed basic insulation is visible as it ought not to be. But on some installations, and it's very rare, you may find that you've got one transformer driving a number of lights, in which case we came across one once where there was one transformer, goodness knows where, above the ceiling somewhere, and it was driving sort of 6 downlights. So the cabling to the downlights was all low voltage cable, and there was just nothing you could do with it unless you started pulling the ceiling down to find where on earth this moronic builder had hidden the transformer. There was another one we came across actually, wasn't there? There was a, do you remember that mansion on Northumberland Road where a builder had done it up for sale and he'd just stuck...
Yeah.
I think it was LED drivers rather than halogen transformers, but they were just hidden everywhere, behind skirting boards and all sorts of stuff, and you'd be there going, why don't these lights work? And you'd have to find where the driver was, and it would be hidden behind some plasterboard partition. You'd have no chance of finding, unless you happened to be pulling the place apart, which we kind of were, because the builder had done the place up, the new owner had bought it and said, well, I don't want it looking like this. And then Sammy Smith came along and promptly ripped it all out, and that's what uncovered a lot of these horrors just hiding away. And yeah, it's ridiculous. Obviously, you know, you're supposed to put these things in so that you can maintain them, so that you can find them, but no, it's stupid. But who knows the mind of a builder? Nigel is taking the easy task here of, rather than doing anything useful, unboxing all the lights, fitting the
You know
lamps,
how much fun it is
putting it all together.
repeating this over and
You
over.
realise that if we find that we can't do a section of this installation because we can't access the wiring or something, I'm not going to be able to take these back to cities now because you've unboxed them and monkeyed with them. So it'll have to come off your paycheck.
What paycheck?
I suppose I better start pulling these things down and pulling them up.
Yeah, if you could dig in at some point.
These are push fit connectors. These are always. I'm not a fan of the push fits. I prefer an old screw terminal, you know, because you know your wires are in there. You know your screws tight. We did a job last week. Last Wednesday. We did a couple of. We did a lot of lighting, didn't we? A couple of jobs, and there was one of these where we. It wasn't quite engaged, and you push all the lights in. You find that one of them's got a dicky connection. The dead testing all worked out, didn't it? But then it must have just popped out again. Because it's the lights down the chain just stopped working. We had to extract it from the ceiling with a bit of damage to find which one it was. So I'm not a fan of these push fits because you never quite know that your wire's in properly. We've had to enlarge the holes slightly. There's not a lot of clearance behind here. These bezels can't come off though, so. Obviously, you're wearing your mask and everything while you're in widening holes, aren't you, Nigel?
No.
Speaking of that job last Wednesday, are you doing better this week? Because as I recall, on last Wednesday, I installed 18 lights and you installed 4, didn't you? 18 versus 4. I mean,
there's a difference between the lights.
Yeah, there was. 2 of mine were wholly new downlight positions that had to be measured, cut in, wired in. Out of my 18, 2 were new, the rest were replacements. No, and you had the simple type. You did 2 downlights, downlight replacements, and no, 1 downlight replacement and 3 pendants, wasn't it?
The pendants, they weren't white pendants with the rose.
Mm-hmm.
There were There were lights with one of them extremely small places to put your connections.
A John Lewis special, eh?
Many connections to get in there.
It was a dangler, wasn't it? It had several wires.
Yes.
Several.
And they all had to be adjusted, and I had to leave adjustment in there and wind them inside this extra small fucking.
Crying he was. I was working my way down upstairs and he kept going, I've had enough of this. I'm going to throw my dummy out of the pram. What an asshole. So yes, if you could make up for lost time today by not bleating too hard about how difficult it was.
Vape. So
you're always losing your fucking vape.
You see a green one. I don't know where the fuck it is. Can't find it now.
I'm sure I've seen that somewhere. I'll have a look, and I promise not to rub it all over the cheese under my foreskin whenever I hand it back. We obviously wire out the dimmer switch because we don't want that causing us any grief. Obviously we have tested this before we made any modifications because, well, we don't want to find after the fact that there's something wrong because then we could get blamed for it. I think, I don't think we've got it on camera, but we got 0.8 something before we started. So setting up the tester there. So this is the last light in the chain in this particular room, 0.82. Marvellous. Right, so that last light can go on now, that switch can go on, the loop can come off. And Nigel's just doing the other room. Lovely stuff. There's 2 chains in this room because we're on a dual dimmer, so I've got 2 points, or 2 end points for my final R1, R2 numbers. 0.6 on that one. 1.26 on that one. Beautiful. Right, let's make a note of those. Sexy. You know my downlights are so sexy. And fully dimmable to boot. Who was on YouTube yesterday that I commented on? Mayday Electrical Services. Go check out Mayday Electrical's channel. He's got some good things to say. And he was talking about LED fittings, how he doesn't like to use integrated, something that I absolutely sympathise with. Seen far too many integrated fittings failed. I'd much rather use a GU10 lamp in a GU10 can, because when the lamp fails the user can replace it. If the user wants to change brightness, colour, whatever, then they can do so without calling in a Sparky. It just makes it completely user serviceable for them, which electricians may say, well, that's not a good thing, David, that does you out of business. But I just want to put in something that works and know that it'll last. These are Mega Man LED lamps. We had terrible trouble with Mega Man a few years ago, their Modo range. But to be fair to Mega Man, they acknowledged the problem. They bought off all my unsold stock. They bought back all the failed stock. They bought back all the used stock that hadn't failed but that I could no longer trust. And they replaced them all with their new model. And I've not had any problems with them since. So take note, Philips, that's how a proper lamp manufacturer operates. They stand by their product. If their product doesn't last and do what it says on the tin, then a decent manufacturer will acknowledge that and won't fuck you off. And I just buy Mega Man exclusively now, no trouble with them. So I'm quite happy to recommend them, unlike other brands that I've had trouble with. But let's not dwell on that. We're putting in V-Pro dimmers here. I actually prefer Xeno dimmers these days to very light V-Pro.
Yeah.
Anyway, all looks good. These Mega Man lamps are all dimmable by default, but we just stick them in. I don't like colour temperature lamps either, ones where you can change the colour temperature, because you're paying for two sets of technology, and chances are you're only using one. The customer's going to say, I either want it cool white or I want it warm white. And once it's set, it's set. And if you set it to one or the other, then you're kind of paying for technology that's sitting there doing fuck all.
Mind you, if the customer's a knobhead, you can leave just one a different colour.
Just to fuck with their feng shui. Quite, Mr. Marsh. Well, this is all tested, all working, all looks lovely. We're going to go and hand over to the client now, and hopefully he'll be happy with where we are. Obviously the ceilings have still got to be painted. There's all sorts of decorative work going on down here. It's going to be rather fantastic man cave space once it's all done. Somewhere where you can stick your PlayStation 5 if you can get one, but of course Brexit means you can't really so much at the moment. So you have to stick with the PlayStation 4 or whatever.
Who wants a PlayStation? Good PC beats them all.
I don't play computer games anymore. I don't even have time for Fortnite these days. I'll leave it to the kids. So yeah, not bad, not bad.
Well, Plastro wants this space, right?
Yes, let's get out of his way. I'm also parked on double yellow lines because there's fuck always park around here. So let's go and see if we've got a ticket.
Oh, you can take that if you... Okay.
Yeah.
This was supposed to be a quick video, so I don't know how it's ended up this long, but to recap, there are 5 reasons for appointing your local reputable Sparky to rip out your extra low voltage halogen horrors and replace with LED. Number 1, the halogen MR16 and MR11 form factor went end of line under UK and EU legislation on 1st of October 2021, as detailed in the free advice section of my website and in a video Nigel and I presented on this very channel last summer. New examples supposedly cannot enter the supply chain, and replacement incandescent lamps will become increasingly harder and more expensive to come by. Number 2, anyone professionally installing new GU10 cans will take the fire rating of your ceiling into consideration and will install a model that restores the fire resistance that some builder in the past compromised when they walloped dirty great holes through the thing. Number 3, LED lamps don't burn at 300 Celsius unlike their halogen equivalents, so they won't singe your wiring, woodwork or their own transformer, they won't turn your plasterboard brittle, and they won't discolour the bezels a pissy yellowy brown through heat exposure, meaning an upgrade gives the installation a clean and fresh new look that ought to last. Number 4, MR16 lighting has 3 points of failure: the lamp, the crappy spring-loaded GX 5.3 lamp holder and the transformer. Damage to the lamp holder can often be caused by the wrong type of reflector lamp or incorrect wattage of lamp being installed. However, most consumers have no idea there are different types of reflector or wattages on the market, as many retailers only sold the common 50 watt dichroic variant and didn't bother loading their shelves with anything else. A failure of the lamp holder or transformer often sees a Sparky being paid to put right, but changing to a correctly installed GU10 fitting puts a single point of failure on the lamp itself, making maintenance as easy as, well, changing a light bulb, which is exactly what it is. Number 5, the energy savings are such that the cost of conversion pays for itself. Thereafter, it's all money in your pocket. In fact, let's break that down to illustrate it further. Oh, come on now. Using my example room where 6 downlights are being converted, and assuming no additional components are required to junction the wiring, as I'm using sensible downlights with a loop-in, loop-out connection arrangement, and that I'm not having to install a LED dimmer switch, the fixed wiring is all okay, the holes don't need resizing, it's not a special location, etc., I can cost the job as follows. 6 downlights at $58.92, 6 dimmable LED Megaman lamps at $27.24, minor work certificate at $7.99, and labour at £69. Total £163.15. There's no point in any daft wanker getting onto me in the comments about pricing, as this is what I would charge for this job on this date if I attended it on my own and going by my list prices while making the assumptions I've made. Some may charge more, some less, some with VAT, others would perhaps use integrated fittings or charge differently for certification. Whatever, it doesn't matter. These are my prices for this job today. Unless you work for Warwick County Council's Highways Division, in which case you can add a fucking 0 onto the end of these numbers. I've already calculated my annual energy saving as dropping from £99.84 to £10 and a penny, so that's £89.83 off the yearly electricity bill, or £7.49 a month if we divide it by 12. Assuming my use of the room whilst clad in my underpants doesn't change and I'm still averaging 3 hours of lighting per day, £163.15 divided by £7.49 would see payback comfortably inside of 2 years. I'm keeping the maths simplistic here, of course, but it illustrates the point. Less than 2 years in and the job is paid for in energy savings alone. We're not even talking about maintenance, and after 2 years you'll otherwise be replacing blown halogen lamps, but any LED lamps I supply are subject to my 2-year no-quibble warranty, so if any pop, I'll be able to replace them at no charge. Therefore my customers don't have to worry about taking any gamble. So after splashing out on the cost of this job year on year and going forward, assuming there is a forward and we're not all about to be nuked by a daft short-dicked vodka slurping twat, the monetary savings under the grey UK sky would look as follows. We're in the red on year 1, but in the black by the end of year 2, and anything after that, well, you get the picture. The Megaman lamps I supply are supposedly rated for 15 years, and maybe they'll achieve that, in which case you can piss that saving up the wall on something more fun than electricity annually, or anally as my fucking bill is now delivered under the stewardship of fat, sweating, lying moron Boris Johnson, he of the vote Brexit and will ditch the 5% VAT on energy bullshit. Even if the manufacturer claims of longevity at the point of sale turn out to be clear lies, as though Boris the bastard penned it himself, and your swish new lamps pop prematurely, resulting in you having to change them some distance in, 6 new lamps of any quality might be about £25 to buy, yet perhaps they'll offer improved technology by that time, which sees them consuming less power again for the same light output, and those new lamps can be changed as an easy DIY task. There is nothing legitimate offering Jack and Jazzwant homeowner a better return on investment on the market at this time. What, Bitcoin? Yeah, right. Nonetheless, get onto your local trustworthy electrician, insist on GU10 over integrated downlights, and get the conversion job booked in right now while electricity prices are demonstrably mental. Unless you know of some other magic bean solution you should be blowing your wad over that you happen to read on Facebook or whatever. Oh, new van livery. Not quite ready for the big reveal yet. We ain't ready yet, but look at those sexy wheeling lights on the roof. Oh, don't they look cool? Unlike this asshole. You're supposed to drape yourself over the bonnet while I'm modelling the vehicle.
You're in this sun.
Let's do the coffee shout outs and sign this one off. Well, another successful conversion job, Mr. Marsh.
Yes,
and what a glorious day for it too.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Let's hope the summer lives up to how the spring has started here.
Yes.
In fact, I'm going to have to take my hat off. I'm actually sweating under here, and I'm going to have to reveal my ridiculous haircut. The wife was bugging me for a haircut she always does every 6 months or so.
fact, he was looking a bit like a bad Boris Johnson. I sort of said to the guy, look, I just a bit of a trim all round. Don't need anything too dramatic going on here. And he was there with the shaver for ages. And I don't know, he just must have heard me say something like, please make me look like a 12-year-old boy, or please make it look like I've stuck my head through a pencil sharpener or something.
He was successful.
It's madness. Madness, Mr. Marsh.
Yes.
But, yeah.
So, shall we do the buy me a beer shout out?
We should do, yes, although I might have to rename it now that you're a two-wheeled menace to let's all chip in towards Nigel's headstone.
Yep, funeral cut snippet. Okay, down with the Virgins.
Always the best.
And we've got, first up, Don Codman.
Good old Codders.
Yes, whenever I hear the name Don, it makes me feel like I should get on the knees and kiss the ring.
Oh, I say. You might get a bit more than you bargained for your contribution there, Don. Nige wants to get on his knees and kiss your ring.
The old Godfather. Okay, we've also got Dermot from DJC Electrical.
Good old Dermo at DJC.
Yep, and at Pogs. Now I think Pogs were a bit late for me. I mean,
well, yeah, weren't there those cardboard disc things around in the end of the 90s? My nephews were into
I
them.
think so. Yeah, I remember them being around. I think my daughter might have had a couple when she was younger.
Never quite saw the point, but all kids in all stages always go through these. It's like the fidget spinners recently as well, wasn't it? When I were a lad, it were yo-yos. You had all the soft drink manufacturers came out with all these yo-yos. I had a Sprite one myself, and Garbage Pail Kids, which were stickers that came in bubble gum. Took the piss out of Cabbage Patch dolls. Goes to show how long ago that was. That must have been like 85 or something.
Yeah, I mean it was top trumps in my day.
Oh yes, they're still going, of course.
Yes, and Thunderbird toys, which kind of ages it.
There was a resurgence of Thunderbirds in the 90s.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get on to the horse.
Ah, yes, indeed. Those who can't get enough, the Sabry and Marsh stuff.
Okay, first up, as usual, is Donovan's Alarms.
Is there a finer alarm installation company in wherever the fuck they are?
To be truthful, I don't know. There may be.
There might be. But probably not.
Maybe not, yes. Then we've got Chris Dan South.
Chris Dan South, good old biker Chris, a fellow biker, Nigel.
Yes, I'm sure he's not wearing the L plates like I am at the moment.
Absolutely not.
You know? Waiting on a backlog of tests after COVID. So it's going to be a long wait riding L plates till I can do that. Anyway, back to the list. We've got Mr. Humbug.
Ah, the venerable Mr. Humbug, thank you once again for your contribution, Mr. H.
Now, here's one I didn't expect to see. We've got David Savoury of David Savoury Electrical Services.
It turns out I've been quite generous. Because
there's a first for everything.
2 generous donations in my own name. Well, maybe it's by another David Savoury, I don't know. But thank you to my namesake.
Yes, whoever you may be.
Or whoever is insane enough to believe that they are me or whatever.
And we've got a Dyson 314 from Dreamy Electrics.
Yes, the Dreamy Electrics.
Yes. And John Townsend.
Thank you, John.
I wonder if it's a relative of Pete, a granddad called Pete from The Who. And GR Electrical RH17.
Happy birthday for a couple of weeks ago, GR Electrical
birthday,
RH17. I think he might have gone on holiday. I think there was something in the message about going away on holiday or something. So if so, enjoy your hollybobs.
Yeah.
Although if you've gone abroad, you are missing out on some fantastic sunshine back home.
Yes, and
which is the only fantastic thing at the moment about this fucking country.
Belated happy birthday. Yes. Well, that's the end of our list.
People have been asking about your weight reduction, Nigel, and your slimming down and your youthful backpedaling. Somewhere there's it's like the picture of Dorian Gray, isn't it, by Oscar Wilde? There's a picture of you that's aging terribly as you seem to improve with time.
I'm not sure of the aging. I feel young gas simply because I'm not such a fat bastard anymore, you know. If that makes me fat phobic, then yes, I'm fat phobic.
And it's simply been achieved by you not scoffing your face, is that right?
Yeah, I've simply cut the calories, reduced packets of biscuits that go with cups of tea, eaten more salads, done more walking. I mean, as I've said
no
before,
magic formula then?
Yeah, I've said before, it was brought on by going upstairs feeling like my knees weren't going to support me anymore. My bad back that I've had for donkey's years, I've had bad back. So yeah, I cut the calories. Didn't do any of these prescribed diets like Atkins or
No fads or anything.
no
it's
faddy stuff.
Just not stuff in your face. I can vouch for this.
Cut out bread. Damn.
Because when I'm there
fattening,
scoffing my full English and or my burgers or my chips or whatever of a lunchtime, Nigel's there all sobbing across the table
with an
apple. The hungry horse.
But also, I've cut out lunchtime meal. I'll have an apple, or I might have a small salad, but that's about it.
There you go. If you're a sweating fat bastard, then yes, simply eat less.
Yes.
And you too could look like this. You know what? Nothing like a bit of booze on a sunny afternoon, is there, Mr. Marsh?
Lovely.
Thank you for all the buy me a beers.
Yes,
Which we are putting to good use.
Yes.
And just to end this video, to preempt any comments, because we've said before about the change of lighting from incandescent to LED, and I had all sorts of comments from people who don't like LED. I don't like the kind of light output, so I've got this particular condition, phobia, whatever it may be, where LED lights don't suit my lifestyle, etc. Fine. This video is not really about that. This video is purely about energy savings. If you put in the right equipment and you're not sensitive to any particular characteristic of LED lighting, then this is a very wise investment to make, especially if you're using the MR16 or MR11 style lamps, the extra low voltage lamps, the 12 volt stuff. Those are what we're specifically talking about pulling out today. If you've already got GU10 cans, you can just change the bulbs in them yourselves. You don't need us. You don't need us.
No, simple.
Why call us?
Job. Don't bother.
So yes, it's just about the change of extra low voltage to LED GU10 for future-proofing yourself, for convenience and for savings. And we've just done another one today, haven't we, Nige?
We have.
So this is a very common job that's coming in. We did have one lady today on an unrelated job who said she didn't like the LEDs, she didn't feel they were so bright and they had a poor warm-up time. I think she's confusing them with compact fluorescence. Fluorescent has a warm-up time, LED doesn't. And the kind of lumen output from LED, from modern LED, from a good quality one, will match what your incandescents put out. So it's all about having the right stuff.
I agree.
Now, stuff off. Call us in if you want us to change your lights, or call in some local professional in your area, or call in another professional in our area and don't call us.
Yeah,
don't give a fuck.
Call someone, save some money. Save some money, that's what it's about, especially at these times of rising energy costs.
And yes, greater austerity.
Yes. You know, what does it take to pay you back? A couple of years, less than.
Well, the calculations have been mentioned in this very video. Mr.
Have they?
Have I mentioned how much I'm being charged for electricity at the moment? Yeah, I don't know if I mentioned
ridiculous.
it, but madness.